The last type of definition query we'll demonstrate is filtering the service layers based on multiple combinations of attribute values as shown in the previous examples. It's possible to build complex definition queries based on multiple attributes to zero in on subsets of records that meet certain criteria. When doing so, just remember the more complex the definition query, the more important it is to be careful to review it for proper syntax, proper use of wildcards, and proper use of and/or statements. It should also be noted as a reminder here that the previous examples showed some of the more common fields that filters may be used for, but it's possible to apply a filter to any field included in the dataset. Some of the examples in this demo will include fields that weren't covered in the earlier demos, just to give a sense of some additional types of filters that can be applied. The first example of a complex definition query I'll show combines taxonomic, location, and rank criteria together to filter only plant species in Utah that are ranked G1 T1 or G2 T2. Notice that with more complex queries, it may become necessary to use parentheses to group similar criteria and so that and/or qualifier statements work correctly. So this query here is going to select anything in the kingdom Plantae in the state of Utah and with a rounded G rank that contains 1 or 2. After redrawing the layer, now the only records that are displayed are the ones in the state of Utah that met that criteria. A second example I'm going to show will display west-wide data but limits it to a single taxonomic group and multiple criteria. This query will filter the layer to only show reptile records based on the informal taxonomy field, which are ESA threatened or endangered based on the ESA status field, or that are BLM sensitive based on the BLM status field. As with the previous example, this combination of criteria requires the use of parentheses and wildcards to execute the query properly. A third and final example has the same criteria as the previous example, but with additional criteria to limit the results to a single field office. In this case, the Tucson field office based on the BLM admin units field. Now that the filter is applied, I only see the records for that single field office that meet all of those criteria. Definition queries can be as simple or as complex as you need them to be, and are a very effective way to filter the feature service layers into subsets of records that are small enough to be served over the internet at one time. If there are certain types of definition queries that you may need to use frequently, a helpful suggestion is to create a library of them in a notepad document, as I've done for this demo here, that can be copied and pasted into the definition query window as needed. This will save time typing and having to review syntax to make sure things are written correctly each time. This can be done in Word as well, but be aware that ArcMap queries require the use of straight quotes, and some word processing programs can change them to smart quotes, which ArcMap does not recognize and the query will not work. Using Notepad ensures everything is stored as plain text characters with no autocorrection.